Welcome back. My name is Yaku. This is my workshop. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this platinum ring. The customer wanted me to create a really special anniversary ring. The trade is very satisfying as it is. To add on top of that satisfaction, to be able to make something that encompasses this very special moment in people's life, just sort of adds on top of the value of what we do. 40 years anniversary, a beautiful pear-shaped diamond ring. It's a 2.38ct diamond, so it's quite big. And we mounted this in a classic solitaire setting. Stay tuned. First step, we're starting with the diamond. We always start from the center point and we work ourselves
away from that.
I'm taking all the measurements of the diamond. The reason I'm starting with the diamond, it's the center point of the ring. So that's the main thing, the main part of the ring. I need to be able to make sure that I've got the right height and that the setting is proportional to my stone. And then from there onwards, we mount it in the shank. Previously, we did the plate and the stones glued on top, where you mark it and you turn it around. Please check out that video. Mike, and we have a link of it right here.
Yes, excellent placement of your hand.
Thank you. We like to bring in new concepts, and also because I get bored with one thing and I'm gonna try another thing, I decided to make the little bed that it lies on out of square wire. And I'm bringing in my circular stencil to match up as best as I can the angle that we have on the actual pear-shaped side. Once I have the angle, I can take the square bar and I can form it not to the entire shape of the actual pear, but the greater diameter that it carries. I'm forming my little square piece, which I'm going to be turning into a bed, into that shape. Once I have that, I can then look at the diameter of the stone at the fattest part. I'm using round flat pliers and I'm bending this into shape. Cross this past each other just like that, then cut a straight line through. In this case, I want to go slightly smaller. So I'm cutting out a little bit and sort of fine tuning it and bring it back down together. It's a very, very strong setting I'm building over here. I'm working with really thick wires, but I also want that sort of muscle on the setting itself. The very first solder that I'm going to be doing, I'm actually not going to be soldering. I'm fusing that platinum together because we're going to step it down from here, and I'm going to be working with hard solder on the side. And finally, when the whole thing comes together, that will be medium solder. I will finish this pear-shaped setting to a pre-polish. I don't move over to the next stage before I've actually done that. This is good practice because by the time you want to assemble it, you've already worked this all off. I'm going to be having 3 claws on this pear shape. It's going to be one in the front for the point, which is probably the most tricky one, and then 2 coming from the back. Now you can do the front part in many, many different ways, but I decided to make sort of essentially a triangular shape piece of wire, which will come up from the top, and I'll take the point of what I've just created, flatten it, and bring a flat piece of wire with a triangular back for the front piece. Now, the reason I've done that is because there's a lot of structure in that, and it's going to allow me a lot of play. Once I've got my triangular piece of wire now, I put it into my ring bender, and I slowly bend it into the shape which made sense to me. Now this is a visual thing. It's not straight, it's a big movement to the bottom, and then they come up from the back again. So I wanted those points where they join to sort of create a little boat shape. It's part of the design. It makes it look good. It elevates the stone. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the angle that we've created with the ring bender. I'm trying to get this angle. So I'm filing off the point on the pear shape that I've created, and I'm also putting a slight angle on it like this. I'm using the entire claw that I've got to basically rest this setting in so that I can just solder the one point in the front here. So I'm soldering this first claw on, and then I'm going to cut it at the bottom and bring the rest of them in from the back. Now I'm creating the back wires, so I'm giving myself an excessive amount of weight so that once I've soldered it on, I can shape away quite a bit to give you a really nice flow, and at the same time sit with the chunkiness so that I've got all the metal I need to go over the top. I'm creating the back claws by creating one of those square situations and then bending the squares up so to meet at the back here. And again, where the claws meet the back of the setting, I mark that out with pencil and I groove those areas out. So that essentially my claws aren't sitting on the outside, but they sort of merge into the actual metal itself. Because it's such a prominent setting, I want to make sure that I've got enough material to work it off to give it the dimensions I'm looking for. Now I want the claws to go from the top where they meet the stone, and I want them to taper down to the center. So I've got a dramatic visual effect, but I don't want to lose any of that strength. And this is where those chunky claws comes in. So I'm taking the top claw, the one in the front, and I'm shaping it down from wide to thin towards the bottom, and also from the bottom I'm filing a lot of that thickness away now. So now I have something that comes out from a thin area and tapers up to the top, and also the sides come up and taper to the top. That just makes the setting, it gives it its own identity. We don't want to intimidate the stone or the setting with a big chunky shank. So I've made a proportional shank, same as I always do, wrap it around, cut it open and fuse it together. I only need a small little space where the diamond's going to be seated. I'm cutting down straight where I want it to go, stopping at 1mm, turning the saw blade and going with the curve this direction and that direction. Make sure that you measure those parts. Now if you go a little bit too short, you can always bring the saw blade in and bring it up a little bit more. So don't go too far, go cautious, and you can always go a little further. I use a knife and I lift it, and then I just pull those parts up. And then as I'm doing that, I'm working on this curve over here and this curve over here to be symmetrical. The shank needs to come up and touch the setting on the sides, and I need to be able to join the setting at the bottom of this 1mm section that I've left on the finger. And once I've done that, I clean up the inside that I've just created on that ring. Pre-polish it and then bring the setting back together and solder. I had a lot of fun making this setting. I took a lot of time. Why? Because it's simplistic. If you make something that's absolutely simplistic, let's say for instance you're cutting a triangle and the triangle's not perfectly symmetrical, you're going to immediately, because there's so little visual reference for the eye, your eye's going to pick up something that's slightly off. So with something that's just got 3 claws and it's open like this, you know, spend a bit more time with it. We got everything assembled right now. We've done some pre-polish on the inside. We're going to do the rest of the polish before I do the set work. Apologize for not recording it. Would have been so cool.
I know, but listen, well, we've got to give people a reason to come back.
Yeah.
Am I right?
We do really appreciate your support by watching these videos. There's a purpose behind this. We've got some plans on the back of our head, and it's all going to be for the love of this trade. So hit the like button, please subscribe, bell icon, all those things, and we will see you next week. Why?
Because we post videos every Sunday.
Every Sunday. See you next time. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
The square piece of tubing that I'm going to be using for the bed.
Is it a tube?
It's not a tube. Once I... Stay tuned.
And then we cut to a guitar where you're tuning the guitar.